Support for today's Heat Treat Radio episode is provided by ThermProcess 2023, the world's leading trade fair for industrial thermal processing technology. Learn more about the show at www.thermprocess-online.com. And welcome to Heat Treat Radio. Whether you're listening to us or tuning in via video on heattreattoday.com/radio, we're glad to have you. In this episode, we're delving into the world of salt bath heat treating with Doug Glenn, publisher of Heat Treat Today and Heat Treat Radio's host, joining three gentlemen from Kolene Corporation. Listen now as Dennis McCardle, Ken Minoletti, and Jay Mistry talk about what salt bath heat treating is and why heat treaters should consider this method, as well as a bit of company history.
All right, well, welcome everyone to another episode of Heat Treat Radio. Really excited today to be talking about salt bath heat treating with the good people at Kolene Corporation. So that's in front of us here today. Let me introduce the folks and then we'll get rolling. First off, gentlemen, welcome to Heat Treat Radio. Really glad to have you. Let me introduce you. When I mention your name, maybe just give a hi sign, although I think your names will probably be up on the screen. First person I'd like to introduce is Ken Minoletti, who's Vice President of Thermal Processing at Upton Industry, now a Kolene Corporation company. Ken has 45 years of experience in all areas of the company operations relating to the design and manufacture of salt bath furnace systems and other thermal processing systems. When Kolene purchased Upton in 2021, retaining Ken was a critical part of that, of the terms of the sale. He's an expert in the field and well respected in the industry, and known Ken for many years. So Ken, it's really good to be visiting with you today.
Thank you for the invitation, Doug.
You bet. Next person, Dennis McCardle, is there with the map behind him. Dennis is the Executive VP of Kolene Corporation. Dennis has 34 years of experience at Kolene in all aspects of salt bath manufacturing and operation. As Executive VP, Dennis is very well respected and considered an expert in salt bath technologies for industry, serving hundreds of customers. So Dennis, welcome. Really good to see you. Known you for many years as well. So
yes.
Yeah. And finally, last but not least, by any stretch, Jay Mistry, Senior Sales Representative of Heat Treating Chemicals at Kolene and Upton. And Jay came to Kolene in 2001 as well, with 33 years of experience at Park Thermal International as their former CEO. Jay is a high energy forward thinker, which I can attest. I think that's true. And he cultivates and maintains strong industry relationships as the head of Kolene's heat treat chemical sales. Jay is a wealth of information, wealth of important historical information and ideas. So there you go, gentlemen. You sound good to me already.
Wonderful.
We were talking before we hit the record button that I read these bios and I said, boy, we sound good. So yes, you do. And fortunately we can say those are true. So really good to have you guys. All right. So we want to talk about salt bath heat treat a bit. And just for the listeners, I want to lay out a bit of an outline. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about a bit about Kolene Corporation first, because there's been some pretty significant activity at Kolene. And we're going to talk to Dennis about that for a minute. Then we're going to talk about the equipment, salt bath equipment. We're going to talk to Ken mostly about that. And then we're going to talk about materials, and we'll hit Jay for most of those things. So for our listeners and viewers, that's what we're going to do. So Dennis, you're up first. Want to talk to you a bit about Kolene. A lot of activity over there. So
a lot of activity. We're very excited. So
tell us a bit about the history first, very briefly,
Sure.
And then I want to talk about the present day.
Sure, my pleasure. Well, Kolene Corporation was founded in 1939, and we're a privately held small business in Detroit. We're a single source supplier of process equipment, process chemistries, technical service and support, R&D, development, lab support services, engineering design capabilities. I mean, we've got basically the whole gamut of supply chain. So our processes are used in a wide variety of industries, Doug. So it's really hard to, go into them all. But I mean, typically the difficult metal cleaning applications is where we've made our bones. And then when you look at it in 2021, we entered the heat treat marketplace with the acquisition of Upton Industries, which is a renowned name in the heat treating industry, both supplier of equipment, but also technologies. And we also at the same time took on the industry proven chemistries of Park Thermal International. And those chemistries are really the lifeblood of what we're going to be doing in the heat treat industry. And we're excited. We're very excited about the future and what we see coming along. When you think about it, both Ken and I were talking now with the combined companies, we have 170 years of salt bath experience. So it's an unbelievable synergy that we bring to our company now. It's really exciting.
That is exciting. So because I want to be clear on before the acquisition of Upton and things of that sort, what was the, and I'm sure it still is, but what was the core markets that you guys were serving? You mentioned it was like metal cleaning.
Metal cleaning, yeah. When you look at it traditionally, when we were initially founded, we were doing cast iron cleaning for the Navy, and we still do that process that was developed in the 40s. When you look at it, steel, of course, descaling is the largest portion of our business, but we also are in the engine remanufacturing sector, the aerospace sector. We've got a great deal of breadth, if you will, of different industries that we supply our cleaning technologies to.
Right. Okay, super. No, that's good to know. Your company's been around a long time. I mean, you mentioned that it's Upton being a well established name. I've been in the industry a long time. I've heard of Kolene for quite a long time, even in the thermal processing industry, heat treat industry, if you will.
Sure, yeah.
So you guys have been around.
We have.
It's good. So congratulations on that. All right. So I want to get just a minute before we move on to Ken and ask him some questions about the equipment specifically. So I'm curious, and I'm sure many people out there would like to know, what is driving this? I mean, you've acquired two companies basically, really?
Right.
What's behind it? I mean, sounds like you're on a growth mode.
We are. Obviously we're a family held company. We're in our fourth generation now. And we have always looked at that sector, the heat treat sector, as an opportunity. Obviously, when we were doing the salt bath nitriding, we touched on it a bit, but we really didn't get into it as we wanted to see and experience. And when we looked at it, it was always in the back of our mind, should we enter that marketplace? And believe it or not, it was one of the owner's sons, Tim Shoemaker, who really started making the inroads of, why don't we go after this? Why don't we look at this more seriously? And he was a driving influence, along with his brother Peter, to move into this. The opportunity arose. It was like I won't say a perfect storm, but everything fell together just beautifully at the right time, place, and it just worked out fantastic.
Great. Well, that's good. So let me transition over to Ken, because I want to just kind of piggyback on Dennis. Thank you very much. So I want to talk to Ken just a minute about the whole acquisition, Upton becoming a part of Kolene. Can you give us a quick overview of how that happened?
Sure. Obviously, everybody looks to continue the longevity of the corporation as we proceed. We're all not getting any younger. Quite frankly, Upton was started in 1937, so we were 2 years ahead of Kolene Corporation.
Okay, all right, there you go. You got to respect your elders, Dennis. Apparently, right? That's
right.
It had always appeared, in my opinion, to be a very good fit. They are parallel lines of salt bath treatment. We actually competed against Kolene for a number of years, primarily unsuccessful.
And beat us a few times.
A couple of times. But we found our mainstay to be in the heat treat industry when it came to thermal processing. The passing of the president of our company opened up the potential for the merger or acquisition, and it worked out very well. We worked with the Shoemaker family and came to an agreement back in October. So we're really heading in, completing our first year.
Okay, October of 21. Gotcha.
So we're 1 year into our leadership as a Kolene company, but they said they understand the importance of the brand name of Upton, and obviously that will not be going away.
No,
Right,
that is a
right.
key point.
I
We
think that's
wanna keep
wise.
That name is really very important to us in the branding. It's something we don't ever want to lose.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you guys have got two. I mean, the acquisition, both those companies, very good
Yeah.
names in the industry.
Yeah.
Park Thermal,
Arc
Park Thermal
Thermal as well.
International.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ken, Upton is, Upton is located where? Has been located where?
We're in suburban Detroit in Roseville. We're probably
Okay.
about a half-hour drive door to door with the Detroit campus.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
And
again,
is that, I didn't ask you guys this ahead of time. Is that location going to stay, or are we going to consolidate, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna, okay, gotcha. That's good. All right, so Ken, back over to you on this now. Let's talk about the salt bath equipment. I mean, a lot of the people who listen to this are manufacturers who have their own in-house heat treat. I'm guessing a large portion of them have stuff that's not salt bath, although I'm quite sure there are some that do. Talk to those people who don't have salt baths at this point. Why should they be considering salt bath equipment?
well, some of the big advantages, number one is temperature uniformity, plus or minus 5 degrees Fahrenheit, being a conductive liquid, meeting the spec of AMS 2750. Process variables, you can really run multiple differing grades of material through the furnace, merely being limited by the operating temperature range of the salts. You can run carbon, steels, alloys. Simple operation. There are no generators. There's no carbon balancing for an atmosphere, so you don't decarb. You rectify the bath to maintain pH, and that will prevent decarburization. So those are some of the most straightforward examples for use. Versatility, I would say.
Yeah. And how about the different processes that can be run? I mean, in a salt bath, what are the different processes that can be run?
Yeah, our core business is neutral hardening, os tempering, mark quenching, and tempering, be it in salt or oil, aluminum solution treating for the aircraft industry, and also aluminum dip brazing. We're becoming the worldwide leader in the supply of dip brazing equipment, and we have really opened up in the international markets. Again, it's that temperature uniformity aspect of the equipment. We get involved in one sector that's been taking off is the processing of nitinol material for the medical industry.
Medical, okay.
Yeah, again, uniformity. Molten salt heat transfer systems, where the salt bath's generating, obviously, going to discharge into other equipment for heating practices. And a final one, unique, is ion exchange glass hardening. Cell phones.
Okay.
It provides for the transfer in the atomic structure of a potassium element into the glass, Gorilla Glass.
Okay.
We talk over the years with quite a few manufacturers, and it's a little bit of a niche market, but it is beginning to expand.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard a lot about the processing of Gorilla Glass. I didn't realize that some of that's done in salt. That's interesting.
Along with aircraft windshield, a whole myriad of glass product that could be done in a molten salt bath furnace.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That's kind of our core industry of what thermal processes we utilize.
Yeah. All right. Very interesting. Very good. I want to come back to the dip braze just for a second, just to focus in on that a bit. So the dip braze, we're doing what type of materials are we brazing together? Is it a copper braze, or what? How's it work?
No, it's strictly aluminum. It's
aluminum braze.
Furnace that'll run within the salt range. Jay can comment, but I believe it's about 1170, 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. 1061 grade of aluminum. It goes through extensive cleaning practice. You'll preheat gradually for no distortion. You'll have your filler metals in place. It's fixtured on the product. They'll dip braze usually within 45 seconds. Filler metal melts. It's removed. It's either air-cooled, fog, or immersion quenched. And you end up with a finished product.
Gotcha. Is that the type of brazing that takes place in like with clad material? Are you talking about heat exchangers and things of that sort?
I'm talking about heat exchangers. We're talking about waveguides, antenna, any number of products, primarily into the communications, satellite, aerospace industry.
Yeah, and all of those, typically those braze processes, and I guess you hit on this, Ken, was the temperature tolerances have got to be within, 5 degrees, because otherwise you start melting down either your base or your fins or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
the criticality of brazing in the aerospace industry is definitely one advantage that molten salts have.
Yeah, yeah. So one last question for you, Ken, and then well, actually two. We talked a little bit about the materials that you're processing. Did we hit on that already? Yeah.
Well, in neutral hardening, it could be medium to high grade
Okay.
carbon steels, alloys. Obviously, the aluminum, the nitinol materials,
Yeah.
stainless steels, somewhat. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, you're really only limited by the temperature operating range of the bath. You can run tool steels 22,
Right.
2150 degrees.
Right. Right.
So
Okay. All right. So one last question I've got for you on this is, in your experience, your however many years experience, 39 with the company, the company has 30, 39 or whatever, but in your experience, you've probably seen ebbs and flows as far as interest in salt bath heat
Yes.
treating.
Yes.
Okay. Where are we on that spectrum right now? Are we at the peak? Are we growing? Or where are we?
I think we're still growing. Again, one of the avenues is the aerospace, limited brazing, neutral hardening, the advantage of the conductive heating in a liquid. You can heat material up, kind of rule of thumb, 3 to 4 times faster than you can in an atmosphere furnace.
Okay.
Being able to heat up more quickly, it will reduce the size of the equipment. Plant floor space is always at a high commodity. So as opposed to a potential continuous atmosphere line.
Mhm.
Can be run by a single operator, delivering, say, a rack of lawnmower blades every 8 minutes. You'll offload 120 lawnmower blades.
Yeah.
So it is very, very high volume production.
Yeah. All right. Good. Very, very good. Very good. Okay. Super.
We'll return in just a moment, but first, a word from our sponsor. The Therm Process Trade Show in Dusseldorf, Germany, is the world's most important platform for the presentation of highly innovative technology and environmental concepts for industrial thermal processing plants. From June 12th to 16th, attendees of Therm Process will experience the emerging industry innovations that will drive future moves. Therm Process is part of the trade show quartet that happens every 4 years in Dusseldorf, Germany. The other events in the quartet are JIFA, METEC, and Newcast. Industry representatives have been tasked with achieving climate neutrality by no later than 2050, facing what is probably the biggest transformation in their history. This decisive development will be reflected by the Dusseldorf Trade Fair Quartet. On the one hand, the challenges that the sectors face. On the other hand, the innovations that machinery and plant manufacturers offer to the metallurgical and casting industries worldwide. Learn more about attending Therm Process at www.thermprocess-online.com. Again, that's thermprocess-online.com. Now, back to the episode.
Jay, I want to jump over to you with a few questions if I can. So materials and salts and things of that sort. I'm probably going to ask you the most difficult questions, just so you know, Jay, because I think when we deal with salts, I know immediately most people's minds go to, salts, I got to be careful. But let's talk about that for just a little bit. Are there any types of new materials, if you will, new media out there that people should know about, new salts or things of that sort?
Well, the salt products have not really changed very much over the years. You have your standard neutral salts and the quench salts. They haven't changed a whole lot over the decades. And that is good for all the customers using the product because they want that continuity. The most difficult sell to a customer is when you start changing salts. And that seems to create some problems because the specs have already been established for what type of salts to use. And when you start playing with the formulations and things like that, that discourages a lot of customers from trying new things, simply because a lot of them are aerospace-based, automotive-based, and they need to get the approvals from those sources before they make any of those changes. So you tend to maintain those salts with very little changes.
Right. And I assume the reason they're given those specs, let's say they're aerospace specs or whatever, is because they want to be sure that the salts are cleaned off and that the salts have the same properties during the thermal process, that they're able to be cleaned off as well, and all of that good stuff. Is that right? Is there anything else that is of concern?
100%. Salt maintenance in the salt bath, desludging in the case of brazing salts, sheeting, all of those things are crucial to maintaining a good salt bath system, achieving temperature uniformity, and getting excellent results. So all of those things go hand in hand for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. Okay, good. So the other question I've got for you, in fact, I might back up and ask Ken or Dennis this question too, is a supply chain question. We're recording this, what is today? This is the last day of September. All right. Supply chains are messed up. Let's just say
challenged. They're definitely challenged, Doug.
Yeah, everybody's on that. That's good.
Yeah.
How about on salts, Jay? Are we having any supply chain issues?
We still have challenges and so on in terms of raw materials, but Pete Shoemaker and his group have done a fantastic job in terms of making sure that our needs are met. Deliveries sometimes alter based on deliveries of raw materials, but we still continue. Costs are difficult to hold at any given time. They're ever changing. So we spend a lot of time with our customers to try and explain the changes in costs. Because salt products have generally been very stable, but today's world has changed everything. And so as opposed to holding pricing for 3 months to 6 months, now you're literally changing from an order to order. And that's difficult for a lot of our customers.
Yeah. So you and I were talking before we hit the record button here about customers who might want to change supplier. Let's say somebody is having a supply chain issue with a current supplier and they want to come over and talk to Jay Mistry about, buying salts from Kolene/Park Thermal International. We discussed a little bit about the concern about mixing salts. Can you address that a little bit? And any concerns there we need to worry about?
Sure. Going back earlier when I mentioned that not much has changed in the products, salt products per se, and that's in keeping with the salt supplies that we have with the current customers. To answer your question, the formulations are essentially the same from one product to the other, and so customers really have nothing to worry about blending one salt to the other. In fact, it's to their advantage to have a secondary source or alternate sources because of supply chain issues. But a lot of them have concerns. They don't have a chemical background, so there's always the hesitation, changing formulations and so on. But we can match any salt product that's out there, and our clients will be able to use it without any interruption.
And I assume I assume you guys could do, even if there was question and they'd like validation, I assume you guys could probably do some sort of chemical analysis of their salts and verify that there's going to be no problem if necessary.
Absolutely. And we have a full lab here that we could do salt analysis. In fact, we provide a service for quarterly analysis and maintenance and so on.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So here comes the hard question. Salts are hazardous, Jay. How do you address that? Salts are hazardous. I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but when I hear salts automatic, I think, oh boy, EPA is going to be knocking at my door.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they are a hazardous product, and one has to be aware of proper handling, disposal issues, and so on. But I think with Ken's group, our group at Kolene, we can educate the customer and help them through all of the regulatory processes and make them aware. Handling the products, as Ken mentioned, it's not very labor intensive. Typically, one guy can run a salt line type of thing. So from a worker exposure, it's minimized. The continuous lines that Ken's facility provides, it's always an enclosed system with the proper exhaust system. So all of those effluents and emissions are taken care of and handled. We just spend extra time with new customers to make them feel comfortable with using salt products. Once they get the hang of it, I think that most of them say that their worries were unfounded.
Right. And Ken, you agree? I mean, this is the handling of salts, the cost benefit analysis of going to a salt line far outweigh the downside.
I think so. As Jay was talking about, the discretionable areas, maybe East Coast, West Coast, as far as remediation, strict remediation. It's going to vary from locale to locale, what your discharge requirements are. A lot of the automated systems we build strictly vent to atmosphere. There is no wet scrubber or any type of remediation on the fume. You will have metallic oxides in the disposal media from the bottom of the high heat pot. That always needs to be analyzed, to determine what is the proper disposal method. Nitrate salts, any company, any thermal process equipment company is going to be quenching in nitrates. If we're os tempering, they're os tempering. So it's the common challenge of the industry, I would say, because it is the same equipment, same process.
Yeah. Dennis, how about you? Any comments on this whole concept of the hazardousness of salts? And but you guys have been doing this for decades, right?
We've been doing it for decades, Doug, and we've over time obviously optimized our systems and our processes to minimize any hazards or any potential risk. I mean, we take a great deal of pride in building a properly designed system that minimizes exposure, minimizes anything that could come along in the way of hazard. So we've learned through the years how to do it, and we've gotten very good at doing it.
Yeah. Good.
This also opens up an avenue for our Roseville campus. We can rely on Detroit on given situations where we need to take a more critical look at remediation.
Gotcha. So probably focusing more on the heat treat side of things. Okay. Any interesting, we'll have to keep it relatively brief, any interesting case studies that you can tell us about where somebody has either purchased equipment, purchased salts, whatever, that has just really been helpful to them?
With regard to processing salt, repeatability, your quench transfer, quench delay, that is all PLC controlled. We use encoders, variable speed drives. Our Dan Murphy has done an excellent job in that capacity over the years. Again, it's just everything can program into a PLC. Everything is brought in by Ethernet communication. We actually have a module that Dan uses, which allows him onto their plant floor from our engineering department in Roseville.
Gotcha.
He can debug issues with programs or problems.
Yeah, little industry 4.0 or whatever we're calling it now.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever number it is, right? Good.
One of the things to remember in the salt, when we talk about heat treat, and Ken mentioned nitinol, medical sources and so on, we at Park went through a scenario with a customer that was having issues with his salt bath. We managed to help him clean the bath out and recharge it. But the interesting point with this customer was that he was producing the glass capsules that go into an EpiPen, which is crucial for a lot of people out there. And with the recent pandemic, all of the syringes, the billions of syringes used, that's all heat treated in connection with what Ken was saying with glass tempering. And that's a salt process that's actually right out there for everybody to experience. And without the heat treating of the glass tempering, we wouldn't be able to produce needles, EpiPens, things of that.
Very interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. That's good stuff. All right. So as we wrap up, let me just ask you one last question. Let's just say, I mean, you guys know your customers, very well, much better than I do. I'm an inch deep and 3 miles wide, but you know your customers. If there was a single message you would want to throw out there to your customers / potential customers, what would it be? Dennis, if you don't mind, we'll start with you. I mean, what's the message you want to leave with them here about salt bath?
Well, I think salt baths, as you said, they can oftentimes bring a bit of intrepidation in regards to whether I want to put a salt bath into my facility. But I think when you really set foot and talk with us about what we're doing today, about the systems that we designed today, I think we were really going to be put in a comfort zone when you see the efforts that we go through from a design and engineering standpoint and all aspects of it. I mean, we take a great deal of pride out of bringing not only the best system as is available and technology wise, but also in keeping people comfort levels at a good position through training. I mean, when we go and put a system in, we train people on how to operate it, how to work it safely, and we take it very seriously when we put a system in, making sure everyone fully understands the operation and fully understands that they can come to us at any time, and we're there 24/7 to take their questions and to help them and to provide assistance. So we try to be a one-stop source for all of that.
Yeah, that's good. I assume that also, Dennis, that if anyone out there listening has a question, isn't quite sure if they want to do salt, I assume there are probably places you can take them to show them some installed lines and things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
good.
That's the sort of relationship that we have with our customers. It goes without saying that depending on the process, we can almost always get them in to see a facility that's operating a system today.
It's always good when your customers let you back into plant. That's always a good sign. Right. Jay, how about you? Anything last message? And then Ken will finish up with you.
Just to follow up on what Dennis said, I think the biggest advantage all of our customers or potential customers would have is that we are the single source for anything related to equipment, to process, to operation, to pump outs, from start to finish. You make one phone call and we're here to answer all of the questions. You don't need to go to many various people. So it truly is a one-stop shop where you can get all your answers with one phone call.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Ken, how about you?
I agree 100% with Dennis and Jay. The only thing I would add is being allowed the opportunity to communicate with customers. Don't dismiss something at face value just because a rumor mill is saying it's a nasty, you're going to have hazardous waste and everything else. Allow us to present the advantages of the equipment. And I think a lot of times that opens a lot of eyes. Everybody thinks of the old salt pot furnace with salt all over the floor, and that's not the issue anymore. They're automated, they're enclosed, they're ventilated, limited operator access. So there are advantages.
Gotcha. So basically, don't believe the questions I was asking about the nastiness of salts, basically. No, I agree. I threw that out there just as devil's advocate. I agree. I think and I do think that's probably a great point to conclude on, is that, listen, if you have thoughts from the past, ideas, perceptions from the past of what salt bath, let's not limit to that. At least give it a shot, right? At least give it a shot.
Come and see us, come and ask us, and let us show you what we're doing today. It's a remarkable advancement considered what we had 80 years ago.
Yeah, as Dennis says, I mean, we can use a referral to a customer. We can do site visits.
Gotcha.
Upton Roseville has always been the advantage. We have a very good customer base, and we've always had the dialogue to be able to bring potential Upton customers in. Take a look.
Good. Well, it sounds to me, gentlemen, like Kolene Upton Park Thermal is on the upswing. I congratulate you.
Very excited. Very excited.
I congratulate you guys and look forward to talking with you again. But thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug.
Come see us at Furnaces, Doug.
Yeah, well, I'll be there. Trust me. All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode with the gentleman from Kolene Corporation. Heat Treat Radio is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and the website www.heattreattoday.com/radio. If you'd like to get in contact with the gentleman, head over to www.kolene.com or reach out to me and I can put you in touch. My email is bethany@heattreattoday.com. Do you have a new or interesting idea that you want to hear discussed on Heat Treat Radio? If so, let me know. Also, If you'd like to sponsor a future episode, let me know at bethany@heattreattoday.com. If you want to explore the topic of salt bath heat treat or any other heat treat method, learn more at heattreattoday.com, where you can find videos, articles, ebooks, and more on a variety of heat treat topics that have been curated for the North American heat treat market, especially for manufacturers who have in-house heat treat shops. Heat Treat Radio would like to thank Therm Process 2023 for sponsoring this episode. Learn more about the show at www.thermprocess-online.com. This and every other episode of Heat Treat Radio is the sole property of Heat Treat Today and may not be reproduced in part or in whole without advanced written permission from Heat Treat Today. And I'm Bethany Leone. Thank you for listening.